So you're welcome back to what the papers are saying. Let me take you quickly through the big stories for the week. Of course, the biggest one on Thursday has to do with the Speaker of Parliament declaring 4 seats vacant. How was that story captured? Let's start with City Newsroom. They say Bagman declares Agona West for Mena 2 other seats vacant. ChannelOneNews.com, Bagman declares 4 parliamentary seats vacant. We go to the Ghanaian publisher. They say Amoako seeks Supreme Court injunction in independent MP's case. The custodian says Amoako drags Bagman to Supreme Court over 4 MPs. And finally, on that story, majority walks out after Speaker's ruling declaring 4 seats vacant. So that's the big story for the week, and those are some angles around that story. Let's move away from that. Let me take you to the story, also another big one, where EC has disqualified the NDC and Memphis Central parliamentary candidates. How was that story reported? The Daily Statesman says NDC's Joanna Kujo disqualified from a Memphis Central race. CityNewsroom.com, EC's disqualification of Joanna Kujo mischievous and disingenuous. That's the NDC speaking there. ChannelOneNews.com, NDC files injunction to halt EC's printing of a Memphis Central ballot papers. We'll take you to graphic.com.gh. NDC Joanna Jan Kujo sue Electoral Commission over a Memphis Central parliamentary election disqualification. So those are some stories around that, or some media outlets around that story, the angles they took it from. We'll move to our third story, another big one, started over the weekend, a very sad one, where 2 people lost their lives following an accident in East Legon. Let's see how that story was captured. We start with the Daily Guide. They say East Legon crash, we allowed our son to drive. Salifu Amoako speaking. Republic Press, Salifu Amoako, wife arrested over East Legon crash. CityNewsroom.com, East Legon accident, court grants Salifu Amoako 50,000 cedi bail. And finally, with that story, let me take you to ChannelOneNews.com. East Legon accident, Bishop Salifu Amoako's son's mother granted 50,000 cedi bail. We'll move away to the story. Our final story has to do with Sonon Asogli shutting down one of his plants due to debt ordered by the ECG. Let's see how that was captured. The business analyst says Sonon Asogli shuts down 560 megawatt power plant over $259 million debt. DailyGuideNetwork.com, Sonon Asogli power plant shuts down. CityNewsroom.com, Sonon Asogli shutdown may force Ghana to import more power. That's the IES speaking. And finally, on that story, let me take you to ChannelOneNews.com. Sonon Asogli shutdown could trigger Dumso. This is the IES again. So those are the big stories for the week. When I come back, I'll introduce my guest, and then we'll delve into these stories. Stay with us. So you're welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kailoko. Let me quickly introduce my guests for today. I have here in the studio Selim Adono. He's here with us at Channel One TV as well as City 97.3 FM. Selim, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
And then I also have with me Sami Wiafi, also here with us at Channel One TV as well as City 97.3 FM. Sami, welcome.
Thank you very much, Vivian. Good evening.
Good evening. So, gentlemen, we'll start with a big story for the day, of course, to do with the Speaker ruling and declaring some 4 seats vacant. For those who haven't watched or heard the ruling from the Speaker, I'll quickly go to Parliament and play that ruling from the Speaker.
Proceed to inform the House that by the notification of the polls, the following members of Parliament have by their actions vacated their seats in Parliament. The members are Honorable Peter Yao, NDC MP for Amenfi Central in the Western Region, now referred to as an independent parliamentary candidate for the same constituency. 2, Honorable Andrew Amoako Asiama, independent member for Fomna constituency in Ashanti region, now referred to as MPP parliamentary candidate for the constituency. 3, Honorable Kojo Asante, MPP MP for Suhum in the Eastern region, now referred to as independent candidate for the same constituency. And finally, Honorable Cynthia Mamile Morrison, MPP MP for Agona West constituency in the Central region, now referred to as independent candidate for the same constituency. These MPs cannot be allowed by law and my good self to continue to pretend to be representing people that they don't believe in and they don't have any loyalty for.
So that's Speaker Bagman speaking there and giving some reasons why they have to vacate their seats. Who is going first, Selhom or Sami? Sami, let me start with you. You are coming from the presidency. Did they see this coming?
Well, I'm not sure they did. I'm not sure they did because per my interaction with persons within the House, they were expecting that the processes that the majority leader then. So right now it's confusing now.
Yeah.
How do we refer to them? Is
Well, I think so the process is completed.
So until the speaker makes the official announcement, we still refer them to them their old position. So is Afenyomakin now minority leader or still majority leader?
Until the process is completed.
I'm not sure if there's the which process. I'm not sure if
because I heard Dr. Atofo said on Tuesday they will complete the process.
Well, I of course I've not looked at the standing orders of Parliament, but maybe it will just be mere formality because once the numbers, which is what is important, have changed, and factually one is more than the other. I think they just have to happen. So that's what it is. I mean, very interesting times ahead.
Okay, for the purpose of the discussion, let's do maintain the old positions as we know. I'm sure Ghanaians are familiar with the old positions. The main characters in this occupy. So we stick to that. So the expectation was that the processes or the court process that the majority leader had filed, Afenyomakin, was going to more or less put this whole pronouncement or judgment or ruling by the speaker on hold, pending the determination of the matter by the Supreme Court. But as Parliament has always said that it is the master of its own rules, it can change its rules at any time that it wishes. They didn't need to wait for the application filed by the majority leader to be heard before they can take the step that they did in respect of what Speaker Gbagban announced to the entire Ghanaian populace today. But for me, this is unprecedented. Unprecedented in the sense that this is the first time we had 4 sitting, MPs vacating their seat through a ruling by the speaker. We've had this happen before, way back in 2003, when you remember the member of parliament for the Amenfi Central constituency, Abraham Kofi Asante, come from the NDC to join the MPP. At that time, the same Honorable Babin was then the minority leader in Ghana's parliament and moved a motion for him to vacate his seat. It happened again in the same 2004 where Wayo Seni, then Tamale Central Member of Parliament, also, switched and went to join the MPP.
He said he had seen the lights.
He had seen the lights at that time. And it was the same Speaker Babi who was then the minority leader, also triggering, the processes leading to his removal. By-election in that sense. In 2020, we saw a similar one, but that one was an official letter written from the MPP's camp to the then Speaker, Michael Okoye, for the current second Deputy Speaker to be removed, who is part of this group of people who are going to vacate their seats as the Speaker Babin has ruled. So it's happened before, but unprecedented in the sense that this is the first time we are seeing 4 sitting members of Parliament, vacate the House and changing the sitting arrangement in the House for this session. Vivian, this Parliament has been the most chaotic, and I want anybody to challenge me on this particular thing. From the election of a speaker to the exiting of the speaker has been chaotic from day one. We all here at that midnight, you know. I slept in Parliament. I went home around 8 a.m.
I was in the chamber.
You know, the following day, and it was chaotic. Even electing the speaker was. So the beginning of this Parliament has been chaotic, and the ending has also been, because I'm sure they only sit in the House for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, they're left
and then
3 weeks, yeah.
The House will be dissolved till the next Parliament. So beginning and end chaotic. And this has been a Parliament a lot of people had confidence in and thought that because the numbers were even, you know, reaching consensus was going to be easy, government business was going to go on smoothly. But it's the direct opposite. We see what's happening in the House. E-levy was the fight, getting tax exemption for the rest, you know, was a fight and whole thing. And for me, I am a bit surprised by this ruling by Speaker Babin.
Why so?
He's one person.
This we've seen happen in terms
yes,
of the ruling. Why,
but then
why are you surprised this time around?
the numbers. So
he didn't say 4 people should say.
I agree. But he's one person I really like and admire with his years of experience, you know, in the House. He's seen it all. Yeah. And if he's supposed to write a book on Parliament, I'm sure it will sell a lot due to his experiences there. My thinking was that just 2 months to an election, fine, the rules must apply. The laws must work. But Parliament is the master of its own rules and regulations.
That's right.
My feeling was that Speaker Babin, with all the years of experience, would have said, oh, this life of Parliament is ending. In the next 2 months, we are out of here. The current sitting is just 3 weeks. So why do we just, fine, there's a breach of the law or the breach of parliamentary proceeding, but as the leader or the chairman of the chamber, let this slide. Let's go through the process. 3 weeks, we are out of here, and then a new set will come, and then they will handle whatever they want to handle. But for him to, you know, defer the ruling on Tuesday and announce that he was going to announce it on Thursday, and for him to announce such
rather the fair was to give him ample time to think
for a ruling, knowing very well how chaotic this current Parliament, this current 8th Parliament is, the Parliament that he supervises, the chaotic nature of this House, and bringing more chaos with this particular ruling. My thinking was that, you know, with all these years of experience, he would have said, okay, there's already tension in the House and tension in the country. So a few months to the election, why don't you just reduce the tension? And the accusation...
So you feel he should have bent the rules to suit the election?
They say Parliament is the master of their own games. So he could have done this without anybody asking questions. Okay. Without anybody asking questions. There are many who have said that there's tension in the country, and we cannot run away from that. It is. And if this particular ruling is not going to increase the tension more, then I don't know what's going to happen.
Why would it? I mean, a switch.
The politicians always cause the tension in this country. It's their pronouncements and actions and inactions have always caused tension in this country. The two sides, both the majority and the minority, have always caused tension in this country. And in every election, you always hear politicians must play their role to ensure that there's free and fair election. When the religious leaders and the rest are always ensuring or making calls for peaceful election, they're always making reference to the politicians. Because they go and incite the people, go and incite the young men, the youth, and the rest to do whatever they want to do. And if they themselves are leading the tension, what do they expect grounded? So it means that for the next 2 months, these 4 constituencies will not have representation in Parliament. And is that not a breach on their constitutional human right for them to have a representation in the House? Shalom will educate me when it comes to those things. But we all know that it is their right to have representation in the House. For the next 2 months, there will be no one to advocate for them.
But doesn't that lie in the bosom of the political parties involved to have you know, dealt with these members to get them to
the parties had
deal with what
the parties had their own internal processes. I remember very well, and I know that in the Suhu constituency, I know gestures that were made to the incumbent member of parliament, Yaoboafo, for him not to run as an independent candidate. The member of parliament for Abetifi and the current agric minister personally intervened to ensure that this gentleman does not run as an independent candidate. He didn't listen to him.
Maybe it depends on what they offered or proposed.
If you look at all of them,
the reasons
all of them, with the exception of Honorable Andrews Esiama, the three of them, the accusation is that their parties have not been fair to them.
Yes.
It runs through them.
Exactly.
But they also forget that they came in there to also defeat sitting members of parliament and won the ticket to represent the party.
Perhaps fairly.
In every election, the winner will always raise issues with the election. I mean the loser, sorry. Yeah. The loser will always raise issues with the election. We will not only hear because they may not want to come out publicly.
Exactly.
But they may complain to few friends and even delegates that I feel this is not go. But for the interest of the party I represent, I may want things to let go, and that will happen. But in this case of the three, they said the parties they represented did not treat them well. Yeah. I listened to an interview by the Amefi Central MP, Paul, and Paul says that he, as a sitting member of parliament, was not treated fairly. Yeah. And because he felt he wasn't treated fairly, people he leads or his supporters want him to run as an independent. They always blame it on the people. Yeah. The people always want us to run independently. Politicians and they are talking. So it then comes to my argument that if the speaker was mindful enough, I'm choosing my words very carefully, with the duration of this parliament and the 51 days to election, you want to come out with such a ruling that will affect your deputy. I mean, one of your deputies. It gives room for a lot of people to for people to make a lot of, run their own conclusions here and there. For you to give a ruling affecting one of your deputies. Yes. It leaves much to be desired. For want of a better word.
There's a precedent. Two, if political parties can't keep their houses in order, they shouldn't blame the speaker.
And in all these precedents, I've heard Professor Michael Okwe say that there were official petitions from the political parties
for all the cases we've seen.
Yes, I've heard him speak that there were
from
official.
The Hawakumsins and
there were
Yakubu and all that.
That's what Professor Michael Okwe, and I'm going by what the old prof said. Yes. That in all these instances and all this precedent, there were official petitions from the political parties, the individuals represented before coming to Parliament. In the case of these individuals, there were no complaints from the political parties, and the speaker himself admitted it. It was just a former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, who said in Tamale at the launch of a campaign that this is what they intend to trigger. And when the House resumed on Tuesday, they triggered that motion. There was no official
including
petition.
Their own, because it affected their own.
Because they realized that if they get rid of him, in a way, it's good getting rid of him and then getting rid of the others. And the majority side will always be those who are going to suffer from it. And it didn't happen. But I was telling colleagues in the newsroom that the actions and inactions of these individuals have caused their political parties, and they should also take portions of the blame. Your personal and parochial interest has caused the entire institution of a political party you belong. And if they are punishing people, they should also punish you for causing this.
Well, they are already out of the party, isn't it? So I mean, we saw in the case of Fomena where he complained, prior to now switching back to the party, that his party was unfair to him. He was going to go independent, and he won with huge margins. So sometimes I think the parties must also look at some of these complaints. Salom, you're on the floor. Take us through the law. If any of the processes you're familiar with, that will also be great.
Well, I think it's an interesting turn of events. This has always been an interesting parliament. The hung parliament right from the beginning to the end, and now the hung parliament has changed to parliament of
swaps.
It's still hung. It's still a hung parliament because the difference is still one, right? So interesting turn of events. But I think the law is clear that, the operative article in this sense is Article 97. Article 97 1, G, and H. It says that a member of parliament shall vacate his seat in parliament. 1, if G, if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to parliament to join other party or seeks to remain in parliament as an independent member, or if he was elected as a member of parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party. That's clear. In interpreting the Constitution, it's not under every circumstance that even the Supreme Court will entertain you. If the thing is clear, you don't need to go to the Supreme Court. So Haruna, what's the name? Afenyomakin, having gotten hold of this or wind of this, quickly ran to the Supreme Court. What was he intending the Supreme Court to do? He knew the Supreme Court was not going to sit on the matter, at least in the next week or two. And so that would have bought them time and all of that. And by the time we see the election is upon us, that's just the reason why I went to the Supreme Court. But the law is clear that if you leave the party of which you were a member at the time of your election to parliament to join another party or seek to remain independent, you are gone, all right? I find the argument by some elements in the NPP quite interesting. But before I get to that, the Constitution was designed, or these provisions were designed for a number of reasons. Our political system is one that heavily thrives on partisanship. So the political parties sponsor candidates. And for those three guys who have actually gone independent, are they telling me that if they had run on the independent ticket, all of them would have won their seat? No, I don't think so. In the case of Fomina, they were exceptional circumstances. In the case of Joe Osei-Wusu, exceptional circumstances. So the political parties have convening power. They have rallying power. They know how to do all of that. And people identify with political parties. People buy into the ideology or vision of political parties. So the people may not like me as a person, but they like the political party.
That's right.
Because they like the political party, and that political party they like has presented me as their candidate, they will vote for me and I will win. Now, if I come to parliament and I come to cross capital, I come to defect to the other side, or say I'm not independent, I would have breached the trust the people, I would have breached the trust because they voted for you because of the party. Your personality may be important, but the party you belong to. That's why we say in Ghana that there are some parts of this country, excuse me, even if you put a goat on the ballot, the goat will win. It's not because the goat is intelligent or the goat knows what to do. It is because of the party on whose ticket the goat is standing. So now if you stand on a party's ticket, the people vote for you, you have a social contract with the people, and now you go to parliament, then you say you are wiser, or the party hasn't treated you well, so you want to cross carpet. Who loses? The party loses. And the confidence or the trust that people repose in you, would have been breached. That was why the Constitution put that in there. There is voter representation and also ensuring political stability. So it is not something we have to take lightly. In fact, you see, we have to be honest in the way we play our politics. And in the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of dishonest acts by politicians. And for me, it is one of the reasons why this country is not doing well. If it was right yesterday, it should be right today. It should be under very exceptional circumstances that it will change. But 4 years ago, you did the same thing. And now you are telling us that the circumstances were different? The circumstances are no different.
Well, let's say 4 years ago, parties petitioned.
Forget about that. So are you telling me that if the Constitution is breached, we all have a role to safeguard and protect the Constitution? If the Constitution is breached, I sit down and say that because the Constitution is breached and you haven't said anything, I keep quiet. We are all stakeholders in this. Even the MPP, okay? The MPP, recently, they sacked Ohininto, Ohininto, Hobson Adoe, Bobia Samoa and Co. Because of what? They said they were supporting another candidate. And so they quoted the party's constitution. They quoted the party's constitution. And I read, Article 391 of the MPP constitution says, a member of the party who stands as an independent candidate against the officially elected member of the party, or who joins or declares his or her support for another political party or for an independent candidate, when the party has sponsored a candidate in a general or by-election, automatically forfeits his or her membership of the party. Automatically means it triggers itself.
Yeah.
So nobody has to say it.
Yeah,
you would have been deemed to have forfeited your place in the party. So once you have lost your place in the party, you are in parliament because of the party. Now that party has no place for you again. And you want somebody to come and trigger it. Indeed, when they sacked Ohini To and Co. and we raised the matter, they said they didn't sack him. They were deemed to have forfeited their membership of the party. So if just months ago, 4 years ago, we saw one, months ago, we've seen this, and a few months down the line, we've seen this again, what are you telling us? You speak from one side of your mouth today, and you speak from the other side of your mouth tomorrow. You have to be straight. As the president said to John Mahama, you have to be straight. We want to be clear. You know, it's a lot of dishonesty. Because it suited you yesterday, you invoked the relevant provisions of the Constitution. And because today it doesn't suit you well, you are saying that no, it shouldn't be so. Or even if it was done, it was wrong. But at the time, it was not wrong. At the time, you jumped on the bandwagon because, you know, the president are going to say that if, independent, but you know, the ghost of Fomina is still around, though. The Fomina thing, and that they had to eat humble pie and beg the guy we hear to come back to their fold. It's still hunting them today. And that decision they took is what has come to hunt them again today. Okay. I think politicians must be consistent. We must be honest with ourselves. Somebody raised an interesting point that it's about 3 weeks or three months to election, and the people in these 4 constituencies will be without MPs. We've forgotten that Sal, you're talking about 3 months. Sal has been without an MP for 4 years. Who has been advocating their causes? Who has been advocating their developmental needs? So once, and we don't even care about Sal. We don't even care about Sal. It is not a matter that is on the front burner of our national politics. We don't even care. And people have been in parliament for close to 4 years, and just the last 2-3 months, they have caused their own downfall, and they've been expelled from parliament, triggering the constitutional provision, and we are crying for the people there will not have representation. What happened to Sal? What did the people in Sal do to deserve living without an MP for 4 years? I think there should be candor in our politics. Okay. So this kind of things, it's not correct at all.
I have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up on the Parliament case. This is what the papers are saying. We'll be right back. And you're welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Today I'm here with Selim Adonu as well as Sami Wiafe. We're looking at the Speaker's verdict on the 4 persons who are going independent in Parliament, declaring their seats vacant. Gentlemen, before I come back to you, let me pick some few messages from our viewers. Prince Henry from Koforidua says, good evening. The NPP MPs should stop being hypocrites and understand that what was good for the goose is also good for the gander. The Constitution and President support Alban Bagman's ruling. That's simple. This one says, I think this current Parliament is history. I disagree with Sami's submission on Speaker's verdict on those 4 MPs. He cannot say because of the intentions in the country, the Speaker should do the wrong thing. This is Ray from Teshe. This says the Supreme Court has a tough decision to make, whether to allow individuals on the ticket of political parties in Parliament who lose their primaries enter the route of independent candidates. This will be dangerous going forward. This is Dicardi from Spintex. So those are some of the messages coming in. So Salam, what next?
Yeah, so let me...
Yeah, you were making
I've heard arguments that this decision should... the Speaker's decision is wrong because what the guys have done should actually affect the next Parliament. If it's going to affect the next Parliament, then what's the point? Because by the next Parliament, if they are to go ahead and win, they would have come to Parliament as independent. So there will be no point in vacating. You get the point? It is the vacation as a consequence of their action is in this Parliament. If it's in the next Parliament, they are going independent. And if they win, they come back to Parliament as independent. And they continue like that. If they address their issues with their parties And then the next election is coming 3 months to time, EC opens nomination, then they contest on that ticket of the party, abandoning the independent candidacy thing. And then now we make the argument again that it's for the next parliament. Then the constitutional provision would have been useless. It is for reasons of integrity and voter representation that we have this. So the argument defeats itself because it cannot be in the next parliament. Number two, I saw Amoako and co, leave the boycotted parliament and said they will not come again.
Yeah.
You are government in power.
Done about this.
You are leader of government business. Government has businesses to bring to the house. This sitting of the house or this meeting of the house will have the 2025 first quarter budget read. Who will bring it to the house? And who will debate it and who will get it passed? And a few other things which may come quickly before election.
Yeah.
So if you are boycotting the house, I mean, you want business done. The opposition guys are there to help you. So if you will not come, then they will do their private members bill and things to frustrate you, and they will pass. And you who and this
but what could
season,
he have done? It appears that they didn't have a plan on this whole.
I'm surprised there was no plan. I'm
maybe we
hoping
could be wrong.
Yes, I'm hoping.
Let
me finish my point. I'll be surprised if they don't have a plan. I'll be surprised if they don't have a plan. But from what I saw Amoako saying, because you don't even engage that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew the direction. You knew the direction, and so you should come with something better. Why do you walk out? Or you walk out of shame, or you walk out like what Katie Amon said, that they are not coming back. You are not coming back. Are you serious? So tomorrow if you say you are coming back, next time Ghanaians should take you seriously. I think perhaps they were surprised by this, but I'll be surprised if indeed they were surprised. Because those of us who are not even in the chamber knew that it was likely the speaker was going to rule this way. And they should have picked up intelligence. And the question, what would they even have done about it? Nothing. The guy has ruled, and that is it. He's a speaker who determines that a seat is vacant, and he has done that. What can you do? You go to Supreme Court. Go to Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court sit and quash or reverse the speaker's order. And then, of course, we'll be fine with that. Whether that be the decision or the interpretation the Supreme Court will give to this. But it is a joke to say that they will not come back to Parliament. Who will do the business of the House?
For the walkouts, both of them always walk out.
No, they do, but they say
when they disagree. When they disagree with the number of issues.
You see, walkout is a tool of protest, and it's legitimate. But my issue is, you are the government in power. You lead government business. So if you say you will not come again, who should lead government business?
The more reason why I was telling my colleagues in the newsroom that with this action the majority side has taken, it means governance in this country has come to an end. And we should just wait for the next government in January 2025. That will take over, the reins of power in this country. Because if they are leaving the house, it means every government business that comes to the house, there will not be people there to proceed with those government businesses. Then it means again that the country's governance system has really shut down or has ended. Vivian, my final comment on this matter is that for me, I still stand by my position that it's a bad precedent, and what this has done, or what this means, is that in future, political parties will no longer write to the speaker to trigger the removal of members of parliament on their ticket who may want to run as independent. Now, colleague members of parliament will now trigger those provisions. Because if you look at what happened with this 4 members of parliament, it didn't come from the political parties. It was a colleague member of parliament who did. In future, if we shall allow this to go, it then means that the political party will no longer have an involvement as to removing their members of parliament or members of parliament who came on their ticket. Now, colleague members of parliament will now trigger those provisions. And if that is the way we will go, then that's how it's going to go.
But I think this one was triggered by the minority because it served their interests.
If the tables turn, it will be another minority or another member of parliament from the minority side or the majority side who may also trigger this particular provision. Yeah, that will serve their interest. So right now it will be, I do you, you do me. Then we will take go like that.
But what's wrong with it? If the law is clear, what's wrong with it? I mean, if the law says if you cross carpet, this is what happens.
Should be out.
That's it. we shouldn't even wait for somebody to trigger it. That's what the law has said. You just need to bring it to the attention of the speaker. If anybody who does it, that's fine. So we don't, in fact, if we want to wait for the political parties, then they will hold us to ransom. They will decide whether to go by the constitution or not. And I'm happy there is nowhere in the constitution that says that the party must trigger it. So there's nothing wrong with that. If once they've gone against the rule, that is it.
You have to pay for it. Okay, let's move to another one. EC disqualifying the NDC's Memphis Central parliamentary candidate. The NDC held a press conference on Thursday. They are taking the EC to court over the matter. Salom, legally, what's going on and how can this be corrected?
Well, I think the EC says that it's about printing the ballots and that the matter in that constituency is not conclusive. And I think the view is that they cannot wait forever. They need to make progress. And so they disqualified the woman. But the point really is that they are basing this on an interlocutory order of the courts. Interlocutory order of the courts as an injunction is not final. You know, it's not final. These interlocutory orders are given to maintain some level of peace and orderliness. So here in May or so, this order was given. They were supposed to have gone to court in July. I mean, somebody appealed it in July, but the Court of Appeal in Secondary also did not sit. And once they did not sit on that date, it meant that, I mean, the vacation too was approaching. So they had to, put the matter up for hearing somewhere in October. So my understanding is that the NDC, realizing this difficulty, said that, okay, one of the reliefs that the one who took the matter to court was seeking was an annulment of the election. So they annulled the election. So once they annulled the election, then I wonder what the court will determine again, because that relief is been, what the guy wanted by some means has happened.
Yeah.
So when you go to the court and even you win the case, what are you looking for? That the election will be annulled, and it has been done already. So it renders their action moot.
Yeah.
Right. So they reopen nomination, and the person who took the matter to court, filed.
Filed, yeah.
And the lady in question also filed.
Yeah.
I heard some other people filed, but in the end, the two of them had to slug it out, and the lady won. All right. So now EC all of a sudden remembers that there was an injunction on the thing when it was the EC itself that supervised the election. So if there was an injunction, why did you supervise the election then? You supervise the election, you declare the person winner. And now you are saying that because of the injunction, you cannot, put the lady on the ballot. I think the EC must be consistent with these things. I recall that when it came to the NDC flag bearer contest, the Dufour team, a day or so to time, went to file an injunction application. And these days, injunction applications operate just as the injunction itself. Once it is filed, it operates as the injunction itself until it is heard and determined. And because of that, they said they were unable to supervise the NDC election. And if you recall, the NDC said they will do their own thing.
That's true.
That may have some consequences, And they had to work things out quickly to get the Dufour team now to withdraw the matter before EC issued a statement again and said that they were going to supervise the election. That was the EC. Still, an interlocutory injunction application. Fast forward, during the registration exercise or something, NDC had an issue. And NDC went to court, also filed an injunction application. The EC went ahead. They went ahead and did the registration. So the matter the NDC took to the Supreme Court became moot. The same EC, on the same principle of law. And then now you are saying that you are disqualifying the lady because the lady, there's an injunction. Injunction where? So I think the EC must be consistent. It doesn't paint a good picture. The EC is working hard on its reputation and credibility. It's a fight we must all assist them to build, because we can't have a country where the EC's reputation and credibility is in tatters. But they are not helping themselves. They are not helping themselves. Okay. They need to consult widely, even within their fold, and speak to the legal brains within the commission itself before taking some of these decisions. Some of these decisions are not just administrative decisions. They have far-reaching legal consequences, and beyond that, there are social consequences. They need to be careful about how they see some of these things.
Okay.
So the NDC says they are going to court. So now NDC2 is going to court, and they're going to file an injunction application saying that the EC should not go ahead with the printing of the ballot.
Yeah.
The application hasn't been heard.
Yeah.
The same application.
Yeah.
Would the EC now go ahead and print the ballot?
Right. Knowing that there's
Or
an
they
injunction.
wait for the outcome of the application?
Yeah.
It's a test for the EC.
All right.
But the question for me, I will ask the Electoral Commission is that when you knew the matter was in court, and yet when you opened the window for filing of nomination, you accepted the lady's nomination forms, when you knew very well that there was an issue with the lady as far as her election as a parliamentary candidate was concerned. If the EC knew about this, why then did they accept the nomination? You then accept the nomination, a number of days or weeks or months have gone, and then you come back and say you are disqualifying her based on an earlier court, decision on this matter. When you have already accepted her nomination, I think it gives room for a lot of questions to be asked, and as we prepare for the election, these are some of the things the Electoral Commission should avoid. Already, there's the EC against the NDC, which the NDC have made a lot of noise about it, and this one too is happening to an NDC parliamentary candidate. If you listen to Fifi Kwete this afternoon in his press conference, the verdict was same, that the EC was just trying to rig the election and ensure that the NDC doesn't win the election, which is presidential and the parliamentary in the Amenfi Central. And so I feel the EC should put their acts right, and so we can address all these matters before the December elections.
Okay. We'll move to, we have some few minutes. I want us to quickly look at the East Legon accident, a very sad development over there. And as it is now, the parents of the gentleman in question who caused the accident have been granted bail to the tune of 50,000 Ghana cedis. Salom, I spoke to you on Tuesday, I believe, on the legality around, the arrest of the parents and what this means for the minor in question and all that. If you can run us through all that. And then
I've really not seen the charge sheet, but the assumption is that there's what we call parental responsibility. And how did the child, the 16-year-old boy, how did he get access to the car? And was there no parental responsibility? How did he go out with the car, etc.? They said, and the parents themselves, from newspaper reports, have said that indeed the guy drives to the gym, etc.
Within the area.
You don't have to drive. Did he have a license? No. 16 years old, nobody will give you a license. So the parents sit and watch their minor child to commit a crime. That is at the heart of parental responsibility. And the parents must answer some questions. For the boy himself, he's a minor, and he will be dealt with in accord with the Juvenile Act. He'll be dealt with in accord with the Juvenile Act. So if, for example, they charge him for dangerous driving, which I'm sure it should be one of the things, or driving without license, etc., the punishment in the normal or general act or law may not apply to him, or will actually not apply to him because he is minor. He will be sentenced using the juvenile sentencing guideline. And for matters like this, he may not go to jail beyond 6 months. And if you're talking about jail, a correctional facility, not a jail like in Sawam, like the Akolaboni school and those places. And it may not even be up to 6 months. If it is, a serious offense, and the serious offense is the serious offense is also defined by law. The serious offense, or the following are considered to be serious offenses: murder, rape, defilement, indecent assault involving unlawful harm, robbery with aggravated circumstance, drug offenses, etc. These are the things the law describes, the law in respect of children describes as serious offenses. But these things we have seen do not fall under serious offenses. And even in the case of serious offenses, he may go to jail just for about 3 years. These are murder and rape and things. But because it's a child... But if
your actions lead to the death of somebody, can't it go under?
No, but we need to look at... these are serious matters. Murder, defilement, rape. These are things which have been premeditated. And the difference between a lot of these serious offenses and others is that this has a premeditation bit to it. And of course, in crime generally, the mens rea or the intention is important. These serious offenses listed here are offenses which require premeditation. But you cannot say driving. When he was leaving his house.
Driving recklessly.
Yes,
what's
but,
your intention?
Yes,
that you
he was driving, he may be reckless, or he might have been reckless, but can you prove that he had the intention to go and kill those people? You cannot say. Okay. He was just driving, he was just being stupid. Okay. He was just being stupid. He was just being a child. That is why a child in the first place is not supposed to be driving. You understand? So the offense, I've not seen the charge taken, but the offense in respect of that, I'm sure will be inconsiderate and careless driving or dangerous driving without a license. No. These are not serious offenses. So when we talk about serious offenses, yes, people might have died. They are serious matters. But, can you say that he went out or he went out to commit murder? No, he didn't go out to commit murder. So it's not. So that's how it works. Okay. That's how he's a child. So he'll be dealt with, like that. And in fact, if he goes to court, he may not go to the courts we go to. There are juvenile courts where the setting is very informal. Police officers will not even appear in their uniforms normally. They will appear in mufti. They will have conversations with him. They will chat with him and all of those things. Social inquiry reports, all those things will have to be brought in, etc. So, he's a child.
But with that in mind and with reports we are getting from this whole racing, around those areas, reckless driving among minors and even among adults, how do we then get to deter people with, these actions?
So parental responsibility is key. So the hope is that if the parents are dealt with in a manner that deters every other parent, next time, if your 16-year-old or 15-year-old or even 17-year-old wants to drive your car, you will have to think twice. That is the solution to it. The solution may not be in excessively punishing the child. It's a child. He's only in conflict with the law.
Well, what's the worst the parents can face with this matter?
I think they could go to jail for a very long time. They could go to jail in excess of about 15 years. Okay. Maybe 25 years. Okay. But of course, that is a range. So it's a serious matter. I don't know what evidence they have or what they will tell the court, but it will be interesting in the days ahead.
Right.
Sad spectacle. I'm very sure that it had not been the visual from the CCTV. I'm not even sure we are going to report of such, such an incident. But thanks to the videos we saw from the CCTV camera, we are beginning to have conversation about this particular issue. And we've seen, several of these things happen. We know and we see minors, a lot of minors driving, in this country without license, and because their parents are in quote big men and big women, we don't get to punish them one way or the other when they commit these offenses. But because there's clear evidence and the speeding at which the car was, we are able to have a conversation and a discussion on it. But for me, death changes everything. Yeah. Death changes everything. I'm sure it would have been a normal accident and a few injuries would have just, concluded a conversation. But because, people died in this whole accident, the more reason why the police have come in and the police are, taking charge of this matter, gone to court and the rest. And as Selim said, there's a parental guidance in this whole thing. And if your child is 16 years old and first of all, he's not even qualified to drive and does not even have a license, and yet you admit that you gave a car to him to go for gym and the rest, then there are some few questions, you need to ask, you need to answer with the law. And for me, I feel the law should just take its course. The law should take its course. If they are guilty, fine. If they are not guilty, fine. The law should just take its course.
Right. So our condolences goes to the families. One of the child's mother was my classmate in school.
Oh wow!
Oh,
yeah, so it's close to home.
So sad. Very sad.
Very sad.
Yeah,
you are driving innocently, parked somewhere.
Our hearts go out to the families. Very sad.
Right.
For those of us who drive, it's just by the grace of God, man. It's just by the grace of God. Yeah.
You have to be very, careful on the streets.
When you are careful,
you can be careful. You can be careful, but some. I'll reserve my comment.
And those who drive the motos,
the Okada guys,
where they can
they are invisible. Oh, they are invisible.
Right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Our time is up. Saloma Donu and Samiri Afi, both with us here at Channel One TV, as well as City 97.3 FM. My name is Vivian Kai Loko. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye.